What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I'm going to talk about right now is Doctor Strange number 381, which is the first story from Donny Cates and G.H. Walta, the new creative team on Doctor Strange, as well as the first arc of Marvel Legacy. So if you're not familiar with those names as far as the creative team, G.H. Walta is the artist on The Vision, which was Eisner Award-winning, combined with Tom King, and Donny Cates did God Country, which is a great little image book that really dealt with a lot of great things about dementia and Alzheimer's and, age and what you do to overcome those kind of things. But let's just dive right into Doctor Strange, why don't we? When it comes to Doctor Strange, we actually start off in a very different place because we get narration from Doctor Strange, but we get the idea that something has changed pretty seriously, especially with that new management sign that's hanging out in front of his Bleecker Street address. So the house is also levitating, so that's a pretty big deal as well. So Zelma Stanton, the librarian for the, Sorcerer Supreme, she has a kind of like a customer of the sorcerers, and, they go crawl up in terms of, the ladder to get into the Sanctum Sanctorum. They go tour around, and everything seems pretty similar to what it was before, and you get some definitely serious intonations that G.H. Walta is taking some of Chris Bocciolo's ideas and his artwork and kind of emulating them, but in his own style. We get into the library, and then ultimately the real question is asked, where is the Sorcerer Supreme? But in this case, it's not necessarily who you think it is. Because Loki, it turns out as we go through this question and answer section, is now the Sorcerer Supreme, and it seems that Doctor Strange is kind of lost out in a tournament, and then Loki starts taking over the narration and telling his story, or at least the story of something that happened, and everybody's kind of like, Loki, bullshit. It's just like, you're a liar and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily appeal, at least make sense to it. There's a cost that goes along with using magic. And then Loki proceeds to kind of like question the entire idea of whether there actually needs to be a cost. And one thing that Donny Cates kind of gets over here is that very much so, Loki is still that kind of verbal mastermind kind of person. He likes to manipulate the situation by talking his way around certain issues. And what he decided is that, hey, what if there is no more rule? There are no more rules to magic. You don't have to worry about vomiting up your guts after you use a spell every single time. I'm an Asgardian. I have a pretty serious constitution, so I got a proposal for you guys. Why don't you just, let me eat all your sin whenever you use your magic, so that way you don't have to go through these kind of things, and I'll just take care of it, because I can bear those kind of things. But just, there is one or two things that I would need some help out with, and you know what, there's this door in the Sanctum Sanctorum that I can't really get through, and then there's this spell that I don't really know where it is, and if you can help me out with that, that'd be awesome. So after he relays this and tries to manipulate these practitioners of magic, they just start bursting out laughing, and they start making fun of him and his entire concept and the ideas, and how he will never be able to find this kind of spell. And ultimately this just infuriates and enrages the new Sorcerer Supreme to the point where he grabs one of the patrons, and then he's trying to get, as he's about to get kicked out, with a double-barrel shotgun to the side of his face, boom, no more bar with no doors. Everybody's outside. The building doesn't even exist anymore. So this is where we get to the first uses of magic inside Doctor Strange. As we kind of move through the story, we do get a kind of confrontation with Thor, who's talking about this. Loki relays this very personal kind of story, and then ultimately there's an immediate panel shift from where they're at in New York City to where they're at in some sort of Appalachian frozen wasteland kind of thing, where frost giants are plotting to kind of invade Midgard at this point in time. So that kind of distracts Thor, because first off, she feels a little bit bad for him, but she appreciates this kind of interest, and we get the idea that, the Sorcerer Supreme sees everything, Dr. Foster, so there are secrets and lies that he can kind of pull this information, and so Loki becomes a very devious and very powerful kind of person, not just because he's a practitioner of magic, not just because he's the Sorcerer Supreme, but because he relies on manipulation and information, and he has the ability to kind of move these chess pieces in the background. So I'm really hoping that Donny Cates gets to explore that a lot more. And then we find out what happened to Stephen Strange. And to be perfectly, honest, Wanda's calling him of Dr. Dolittle is very accurate, because, the once great surgeon, Stephen Strange, is now nothing more than a veterinarian, talking to animals and fixing dogs, though it is noble. So that's where we kind of leave the story at this point in time, and it just has me more revved up for where things are going to be going in the future. If we talk about the art, I can't fault the art in any way. It's a very interesting portrayal of Loki, interesting character designs, and I really like the way that everything flows, but I've been a big fan of Walta's art ever since The Vision because I thought that it gave a unique flair to that character, and I like that he's taking the traditional approach, or at least the approach that Bocciolo took, and then kind of making it his own so that way we've got some visual continuity without necessarily being a copycat style or shifting too terribly off in terms of tone. I'm really excited about what Donny Cates is doing because he's essentially honoring the previous storyline, you know, the last days of magic, where magic was almost obliterated from the entirety of the Marvel Universe, and what that really took a toll on Doctor Strange about, and then kind of bringing in this different characterization of Loki so that way not only are we going to get some sort of conflict and competition, but we might get some cooperation between Dr. Stephen Strange, the former Sorcerer Supreme, and Loki of Asgard, the new Sorcerer Supreme. So I'm really excited for where Doctor Strange is going to be going. Of course, you guys have to form your own opinions, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm recommending it for pretty much anybody that wants to read Doctor Strange. So I'm excited, but I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.